In spring, the best plan is to start grazing paddocks with a low cover of grass to get freshly calved cows used to grazing rather than letting cows into very heavy covers. Early spring grazing benefits the grass plant also, because the growth that has been on the field for the last number of months is removed and light is allowed back down into the sward to stimulate new growth and invigorate the grass plant. Grazing stimulates new growth. The objective of getting cows out to grass is to lower feed costs, increase milk solids produced, contain less slurry, have less mastitis, and reduce the cleaning and feeding workload. Every extra day at grass is worth an extra $2.70 in profit per cow. However, you will need strip wires and reels to get good utilization and prevent damage. Poaching paddocks is a no-go area, and if this is happening, you have to do something about it. Any paddocks that are poached in spring will grow 50% less grass for the year. This means if your paddock is growing 10 tons now and it's poached, then it will be back to 5 tons of dry matter per hectare for each year. Poached paddocks will hold water and allow weeds and bad grasses to compete with ryegrass. Reduce poaching by allocating square areas to limit walking, and don't walk cows across grazed paddocks. One of the best ways to reduce poaching is a good network of farm roadways. Imagine all these feet walking across a paddock of grass, or worse still, a paddock of grass that has been grazed off. In wet weather, cows can do a lot of damage. You could also create small spur roads off main farm roads to allow cows walk single file into the back of the paddock. Keep electric wires 3 foot apart and cows will walk in single file. A spur road will restrict the damage to a small area of ground rather than cows tramping across a paddock and destroying and poaching the whole paddock. It may happen in wet weather in spring that you get some grazing completed, but maybe like this paddock you don't get it cleaned off perfectly. In difficult grazing weather, you have to expect some of this type of grazing and aim to get it cleaned off properly at the next grazing. There is no point in letting cows back into half-grazed paddocks in spring, because they can do more harm than good, especially in wet weather. In wet weather, get the strip wire up and allocate enough for a 12-hour grazing and move on. A back fence preventing cows going back over grazed paddocks will allow young grass plants to grow again, and this is essential in the spring. If cows eat off young regrowth like this, growth rate can be significantly reduced, as the grass plants don't get a chance to harness energy from the sun. Holding cows after milking or until rain passes may be necessary. Also remember that 3 or 4 hours grazing, often termed on-off grazing, might be enough to get the majority of grass into cows. And if they have to come into cubicles because it's very wet, well that's okay too. Don't fill them up with silage when inside, or they will lose the drive to graze. In summary, spring grazing drives profit. You need the tools of the trade, good farm roadways, good fencing to allow you use reels and strip wires, allocating square blocks, not long and narrow strips, holding cows after milking for on-off grazing. Remember, you won't graze perfectly every day, but avoid poaching at all costs.